Last week, we brought you an investigation alleging that the U.S. government only held 28,000 Bitcoins, and this led everyone to believe that the U.S. had been dumping billions of dollars of Bitcoin and suppressing the price. But we have some new data proving they do, in fact, still hold all of their Bitcoin. And this comes at the same time we're seeing tens of thousands of Bitcoin being dumped by whales and OGs. So what's really happening? And of course, what does this mean for you? The question everyone's wondering right now, especially as the price is kind of retracing a little bit, there's a dip. Is the bull run canceled? So let's get into this data. And of course, we are not alone. We have the legendary Bitcoin Ben with us today. So good to have you. I'm sure you guys saw last week. It was a great show that we had. It was a fun one. All right, guys. So first of all, let's start with the new findings. So remember last week, the big news came out. There was a Freedom of Information Act released from the U.S. Marshals, and they basically said, we're only holding 28,000 Bitcoin. And everyone on Twitter, all of us were wondering the big question, did the U.S. government sell roughly around 170,000 coins? And of course, is this what's explaining the fact that Bitcoin can't really break out of that 120, 115 range? Well, this week we got new data, and this is coming out of Arkham Intelligence, of course, on-chain metrics, and they tweeted, the U.S. government holds 24 billion Bitcoin, and I believe it was a total of like roughly around 198,000 Bitcoin, and this is a culmination of all of the U.S. Different government offices' wallets. So the U.S. Marshal may only hold 28,000, but when you combine all of the wallets that the government holds, they do in fact hold all of the Bitcoin that they claim. Now, there was a lot of speculation here. There was a lot of speculation wondering whether they actually had sold that Bitcoin. Could this be the explanation for the price of Bitcoin? Of course, everyone's wondering, is someone out there suppressing the price of Bitcoin, and where's it coming from? Was it paper Bitcoin? Is it the fact that the U.S. government may have dumped their Bitcoin before the announcement of the U.S. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve? Well, it looks like that is not the cause here. So, you know, a sigh of relief here, I guess, from us Americans in regards to the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. They haven't actually dumped all the Bitcoin. None of it has moved in 4 months. They still hold that Bitcoin. So that's the first topic. And I'm really going to pass it around here. Let's touch on this first idea. The U.S. actually holds all that Bitcoin. And from our perspective, it is a huge sigh of relief. Now, that does kind of beg the question of, okay, if the U.S. government didn't dump 170,000 Bitcoin, then where is all this Bitcoin coming from, especially with all the news we've been covering, all of the Bitcoin treasury companies announcing huge amounts of capital being injected into market. At least we know it wasn't the U.S. government dumping the coin, but I'm going to pass it to Nico because Nico loves this topic. So before I get into all the other data I have that I think is going to really pinpoint where the Bitcoin is being sold from, Nico, did you have a sigh of relief when we heard that the U.S. government still holds all of their Bitcoin?
No, not really, because like obviously you would want Bitcoin in the hands of individuals. Like it kind of explains, you know, again too, also like something else to keep in mind, right? I don't know if they have access to all of that because essentially what Lola Leets uncovered was specifically for the U.S. Marshal office, right? And it kind of confirmed something that we were talking about during the previous administration where they were essentially selling it before, you know, this current president came into office, right? And another thing that I actually posted this morning, because I'm seeing this kind of like in the background, is like if you're an OG from 16 years ago and you bought Bitcoin for less than $1, you know, and you have tens of thousands of coins, which is going to lead us to the, you know, why is the price dumping? You know, if you're going to sell 5% of your stack, 10% of your stack, you're still going to have thousands of coins and you're going to be able to start businesses, upgrade your lifestyle, you know, whatever it is that you want to do. But also what I'm seeing this cycle is there's a lot of people are selling Bitcoin and they're taking some of that Bitcoin and they're investing into the treasury companies because they think that's a way to outperform Bitcoin. Now, here's the thing, though. You can only sell that once, and they're outperforming Bitcoin until they don't, right? So, you know, MicroStrategy's case and Metaplanet's case, and now you're seeing, you know, so many treasury companies pop up. It kind of reminds me of the 2017 era of kind of like the ICO boom. Now, are they as bad as ICOs? No, because they're not vaporware, right? They're actually backed by an asset. However, a lot of these treasury companies, they're going to have to take more and more, they're going to have to take bigger and bigger like they're going to have to leverage more and more in order to raise capital. And none of them are ever going to be able to catch MicroStrategy. Like MicroStrategy is the clear leader. The products that he's releasing, he's trying to tap into every single pool of capital that he can. And I had a conversation with Mark Moss the other day, and the way that he described it to me was like, Nico, you have to understand that 97% of capital is not able to get to buy Bitcoin if they wanted to. So Michael Saylor is like purposely creating all these products so that different pools of capital, whether it's people that are interested in stable income, whether it's people that are interested in just buying like a leveraged Bitcoin play, which is MicroStrategy itself, the way that I see it. You know, he has like, I think it's like 3 or 4 products that he's released so far. And this is what's happening this cycle, guys. Like OGs, people that have accumulated Bitcoin at a very, very, you know, low price, you know, I don't blame them, right? They're selling, you know, a portion of their stack to upgrade their lifestyle, to, you know, to invest in their own companies, something that we've done here at Simply, but we're not OGs. And, you know, some of them are some are seeing the treasury companies as a way to multiply their Bitcoin. So they sell, let's say, 1 Bitcoin, and they're thinking they're going to get 2 or 3 back, right? You know, and again, that's taking risk. You guys know how we feel at Simply, which is, you know, take Bitcoin into self-custody and put it in cold storage. That's the way you should do it. But, you know, to each their own. Now, the last thing I'll say, too, is I'm feeling bullish. And the reason I'm feeling bullish is, number one, we got Bitcoin Ben in the house today. And Bitcoin Ben and I are going to be doing the first ever Simply Bitcoin Rumble exclusive, which is going to be fantastic. It's going to come up the end of July. I'm so excited. Me and Ben are going to go off. And that's the first thing that has me bullish. But the second thing that has me bullish is if 70,000 Bitcoin were sold back in 2020 or 2017, the price would have dumped like 50%. 50 or 60%. It would have crashed like you have no effing idea. So the fact that someone just spot dumped 70,000 coins and we dropped from 120. What? Do you want to correct me, Opti?
No, I was going to say you're getting ahead of yourself, but that's fine. That's fine.
100 and something thousand coins, and Bitcoin dropped from 124,000 or 122,000, and it dropped to 115,000. So had like a 5 to 7K correction, like 5%. Like, you should be feeling really bullish right now. And this is on top of the German government dumping. And this is on top of parts of the U.S. government dumping Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is still consolidating, keyword here, consolidating at $115,000 per coin, right? That is incredibly, incredibly bullish. Anyways, we have a friend of the show, Bitcoin Ben, joining us today. Ben, what are your thoughts, man? You know,
we really need to actually look at this right. Everyone watching this right now, if you have over 0.1 actual Bitcoin, you're a future whale. Accept it. Come to terms with you are a future whale, right? Because in the future, if you own 1, you're a whale. And in the future, whatever show is on at that time will go, oh my God, did you hear? I heard that Nico is selling some of his Bitcoin. Did you hear he has 100 Bitcoin? Oh my God, he's so rich. We're all future whales in the larger picture. Plus, we want this, guys. We want the whales to sell so us little baby whales can accumulate more and actually become larger whales. This is an ecosystem. We are evolving. You don't want those old whales just holding on to it, because you have to look at what we are doing. All right. Every time that our price drops, you should, and I'm trying to be PC, all right? You should be sexually aroused every time the price drops, because it is literally like you're going to Walmart and your favorite frozen pizza's on sale. And you look at it and go, nope, I'm not buying that till the price goes up. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
The lower it goes, the bigger your smile should be. Because how everyone we talk to, man, I wish I could have bought it at 90. Well, you can't. But you can actually buy it at like 115. That's on sale. It ain't 90. And trust me, when I originally bought Bitcoin, it was $600 each. And this whole way up, I've heard so many people go, God, I'm not going to buy it right now. It's at 20,000. And at 20,000, I was buying the top. I was Michael Saylor in this mother plucker. All right. Because I knew we're on our way. This is just the route we have to take, because this is not, that's what makes us so special. We aren't shipping out a bunch of free money that we're printing and just saying, use it. Here is a bunch of paper. Now use it like it has value. No. We're involved in a system that actually has value and use case, and actually has an in order to create one friggin' Bitcoin. Right now, it costs about $47,000 to $51,000. How much does it cost to print up $47,000 to $51,000 bills? It don't cost $47,000. I can tell you that right now. So the reason that we like it like this, or you should like it like this, is because we're, for the first time in human history, we are in an asset that actually has a legitimate production price. And that production price is a floor. Once in a while, now I think it will never dip under the production price again, ever. We're done. That's all gone. But you look at it as a floor. And then you look at every other retail out there. All right. When you own a shop, Walmart charges you 3 times their initial cost. That's normal. That is normal operating procedure. So if it actually costs $47,000 to produce every Bitcoin, you should assume the actual market value should be about 143-ish, 141, right around there. So you're actually getting an asset that should be valued at 141. You're getting it for 115. All right, you're actually getting about a 26% discount. That's on sale, folks. And remember, we don't want this to jump up quickly, because if it jumps up quickly, it falls quickly. And you don't want those drops. Number one, if it shoots up to $200,000 tomorrow, it's never coming back down to 115. Because if it shoots up and it hits 200,000, the correction will be at about 131-ish, 132, maybe 128. But that's it. You'd never see 115 again, because then we have a higher high, which will set a higher low. Because you have to understand accumulation levels. That's where we're at right now. We're at an accumulation. People who are willing to sell right now, they see it as a decent price. People who are buying it right now, they see it as on sale. And that's where they're going to meet at your buy wall and at your sell wall. Well, you guys, I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you know this, but there's only 21 million of these mother pluckers that are ever going to exist. And with a halving schedule every 4 years, that yearly supply drops and drops and drops. And you don't think Michael Saylor is like a coke person in the 1980s? That guy's trying to snort so many Satoshis right now. He's literally going to clean his house for years. Because he understands what I understand. Don't look at the price, look at the value. That's completely different. The price is irrelevant to the value, because the value is you guys and me actually being future whales. If I actually told you in 10 years you will be worth $10 million if you're willing to wait for it, would you wait 10 years if you knew you were going to be? I guarantee you wouldn't jaywalk if you knew in 10 years that you're going to be a multimillionaire. You'd quit smoking, you'd jog, you'd eat right. You'd be like, you know what, hell with that, I'm going to be rich. That's how we need to look at this. We don't want to look at the dollar value. We want to look at how much Bitcoin we have, because as we go up in price, less and less people are going to want dollars. So you look at the value of the accumulation of the actual Bitcoin you're getting. Forget the dollars. That's why I love when I hear, oh, people are taking profits. You're taking profits into what? You're selling something that appreciates for something that hyperinflates. Yeah, good choice, you dipshit. And speaking of hot wives, Nico, how the hell did you do that? I know you guys have asked the same questions in your head, because every time I see her, I'm like, no. Oh. He's either rich, which I know they got together when he wasn't rich, or he's swinging.
All right. Let me pick this up.
Sorry, guys.
I'll say too is, like, we love everybody here at Simply.
Oh man,
and
this is great.
we love all wives here at Simply Bitcoin.
Hold on. Let's give him some.
No.
We love everybody here at Simply
Ben.
Bitcoin.
Love it.
Bitcoin Ben is he's just throwing some jokes around, and it's hilarious.
Okay, all right. Let's pinpoint. We promised you guys that we would pinpoint where the quote unquote price suppression is coming from, and then we got a great rip from Ben. All right, so from what we can see here, guys, You know, everyone wants to make the case that it's a bunch of paper Bitcoin. It's the Larry Finks of the world. You know, the corporate treasuries, the ETFs, they're suppressing the Bitcoin price. But from what we can see on chain, from all of the data coming out in the last week, it's just what we've been saying. It's a lot of people are dumping Bitcoin. We've been covering this, and that's the beauty of Bitcoin. You know, it's a public ledger. You can see where the movements are coming from. And we talked about this last week. There was 80,000 coins that hit, or rather Galaxy Digital seemed to have moved 80,000 coins, and we were all wondering, what are they doing? Well, they have sold about 70,000 of that Bitcoin, and we're still kind of waiting to see if they're going to sell the last 10,000 Bitcoin of that $80,000 tranche. And then going further, we're seeing even more old wallets wake up. We saw another whale from 2011 sell 14,000 Bitcoin. Everyone's wondering what is going on. Of course, as we've been saying, if you're an OG and you're, you know, selling some coins right now, can you really complain? Can you really get mad at them? Of course, though, like Bitcoin Ben said, you know, what are you selling it for? You're selling it for dollars? What's going on? And even further, we've seen some 15-year-old coins around 3,962 Bitcoin move. And it just keeps going on, guys. So if you're wondering where the coin is coming from, it's old wallets waking up. We saw another 2,000 Bitcoin from a 10-year-old wallet move. We saw another 4,462 Bitcoin held in Coinbase Prime custody move to the Coinbase exchange. And the real question for me personally, and I think this is one of those ongoing debates that we've had in Bitcoin, is this idea of how much lost Bitcoin, quote unquote, lost Bitcoin is there really? And someone kind of posed that question. The theory that millions of coins are lost is probably going to end up being pure BS. And Sonny goes, I've been saying it all along. As you can see, there is some OG holders that have been holding Bitcoin for 10, 15 years. And all the, you know, million plus Bitcoin that we've kind of been wondering whether they're lost, whether people have, you know, no access to that coin. It's turning out that there have just been OG holders that are holding it forever. So the real question here, and I brought this chart up yesterday, we didn't really get too much of a chance to really dive into it. But again, I brought this yesterday. It looks like the institutional investor out here, or rather the retail through institutions, are scooping up all this Bitcoin while, you know, smaller retail are selling their Bitcoin right now. Now, I don't know where whales would kind of align in this chart here, but we are seeing old wallets, old coins start to move on chain. They're being sold into the market. And like Nico was saying, the fact that Bitcoin is holding up this strong around this time is absolutely incredible. In the past, if we were selling, or rather, if we were seeing tens of thousands, literally, I think if you do the math, that's about 110,000 coins being sold into the market right now. We would be getting the best discount possible here, and we'd probably be in a prolonged bear market. And right now, Bitcoin's still at all-time high, essentially, and it's very healthy. I think this is a very healthy dip here. I think this is, as someone in the chat said, like, the bull run's not canceled. I think it hasn't even started yet. Anyways, Nico, you kind of went in on this already, so I'm going to pass it over to Ben here real quick. We're seeing a lot of old coins move.
I did get breaking news from Twitter, though. I didn't want to talk about this.
What you got?
So Adam Back is claiming that Novogratz sold
man.
and not using TWAP, apparently. Personally, I woke up to this morning, saw Bitcoin down, smash bot. Thanks for the cheap sats, Novogratz.
Yeah, so
Adam Back is claiming that Novogratz was the person who sold.
Yeah, I mean, that's Galaxy Digital.
That's Galaxy Digital.
Yeah,
right?
and TWAP, I forget what the acronym is. It's but essentially what he's saying is, like, Novo woke up and just market sold his Bitcoin instead of using some fancy engineering to sell a little bit of Bitcoin to not move the price. He's just like, smash, sell, again, cheap Bitcoin. This is good, man. This is, I love to see this, especially where we are right now. The market is very healthy and strong, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, everybody. It's going to be an incredible show. We got Bitcoin Ben in the house today. We got 762 of you guys watching live just on YouTube alone. 1,130 of you guys watching live on X. And Rumble is popping off. Rumble, the Rumble audience, me and Ben are going to do a Rumble exclusive July 29th coming up. It's going to be fantastic. And, you know, me and Ben are going to be able to say some things which is going to be interesting. And talk about things that are outside the Overton window. So anyways, guys, before we start the show, I do want to give a very special shout out to Simply Bitcoin's lead sponsor. Again, the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoins, well.com. Why do we recommend BitcoinWell.com here on Simply Bitcoin? It's automatic self-custody, meaning you put in your email address here, takes 2 to 5 minutes to get signed up, and you can buy Bitcoin on their on-ramp. Also, every time you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, you earn something called these Bitcoin Well points, and you could use those points towards the Bitcoin Wishing Well contest, which we're going to do a live demonstration for you guys right now. What does that look like? We're going to toss a coin into the Wishing Well. Get your Lightning wallets ready. First person to scan the QR code has won 439 sats today. Again, to get started, go to bitcoinwell.com/simply today. All right, everybody, let's hit the numbers. We have tons to talk about. We will be right back in just a second.
I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Stampseed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed words really secure? Stampseed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of writing them down on paper. Don't do that. Paper sucks. You want to literally stamp your seed into this plate of titanium. Your words are actually stamped into the metal plate with this hammer. So once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and your pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and most importantly, because this is generational wealth, time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin for the long haul. I mean, here is the plate that they crushed. They put in water, they put a blowtorch to it, and as you can see, the words have survived. Stamp your seed on Stampseed. And you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their store. Head over to stampseed.com today.
We're back. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $116,220. Block height 907,151. Sats per dollar 860 sats per dollar. Market cap 2.31 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap 9.78%. Decline from all-time high negative 5.6%. Realized monetary inflation 0.84%. Continuing to school fiat currencies. Anyways. Talk about funny ass moments. Yesterday, Trump went to the Federal Reserve and he had some interesting, back and forth with Jerome Powell. This is like comedy. This is comedic gold. I felt like I was watching an episode of The Apprentice, except The Apprentice is the president because the way he treated it was fantastic television. I have to show you guys the clip.
The reason why we wanted to see it was the overruns of the expenses. We wanted to figure out why.
Yeah. So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about 3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
Our notes had it about 3.1 as well.
3.1,
3.2.
This came from us?
Yes. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added
our entire capital plan.
Yeah, you just added in a third building is what that is. That's a third building,
Well,
including
no,
the
but
Martin building.
it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But it's
So,
not new.
So we're going to take a look. We're going to see what's happening, and it's got a long way. Do you expect any more additional cost overruns?
Don't expect them. We're ready for them. But we have a little bit of a reserve that we may use. But no, we don't. We expect to be finished in 2027. We're well along, as you can see.
Nice to take these off every once in a while when we're not under too much danger. So, any questions?
Oh man, fucking hysterical. Oh man, that was comedic gold, dude. Holy cow. I can't even that by Trump was like, that was pure gold. That was like, that felt like it was like from a TV show. That did not feel like it was real. Again, like highlighting the ludicrous of, it's a $3.2 billion renovation. Like, what type of building? Like, what are they building over there, man? $3.2 billion renovating the Federal Reserve. It's crazy. No, but here's the news. The day after that press conference, check this out. President Trump says he thinks Fed Chair Jerome Powell might be ready to lower rates. So this is the art of the deal. You know, he went in there, kind of, you know, highlighted the ludicrous of all of it. And, you know, you could see Jerome Powell was super uncomfortable. And then Trump is just, he's just a showman. Like, it was hilarious. So I'm going to pass it on to Ben. Ben, keep in mind, we are on YouTube, and we want to be friendly we want to adhere to the community guidelines. What are your thoughts on Trump, man? Because he went off on Powell.
I absolutely love it, because as an organization, that is the most evil organization ever created, quote unquote, for the American people. It isn't that they don't know what they're doing or they're stupid or anything like that. They have an agenda. Their agenda is rob from the labor of the American people and transfer it into the government. That's what the Federal Reserve's job was to do. When they say, well, our job is to handle unemployment. Let me say that a different way. Our job is to manage the slaves. Now, what's their second job? Price stability. That's just like saying, hey guys, we have something that's called the Patriot Act, and it's basically going to take away all your freedoms. But it's got a good name. It's all junk. It's all trash. That's why Trump is actually going after the Federal Reserve, because Trump knows this. He's a real estate guy. He realizes that the Federal Reserve unnaturally sets the price of money, which is interest rates, and they produce the money. That's like a friggin' pimp hiring one of his own hookers. It's insider trading, and all of these Wall Street guys, everyone from Bloomberg, and they're all stupid. They're either stupid or they're in on it. Because let's think about it, right? We have an SEC. What's their job? Oh, make sure nobody's messing with the market. Make sure nobody's manipulating the markets or the exchanges or anything. Well, hey there, how about you look at the Federal Reserve, the ultimate manipulator of the unit of exchange that we all use.
Absolutely.
That's about the biggest manipulator you can have. And in their charter, it says they have to manipulate.
Yep.
So Wall Street and all of these wealthy billionaires and all of these banks, they literally rob us with a smile, and then they go after the plebes if they happen to launch a successful company that they don't like or actually competes with one of theirs. They send in the short sellers. You know what a short seller is? It is a corporate assassin. That's what a short seller is. Yeah. And they're all funded by the government. because they're funded by the Fed and Bloomberg, and all of these different major financial corporations work along with the media, and they short sell any company that gets out of line. Why do you think Michael Saylor, why do you think that Bill Gates is short selling MicroStrategies? You think he's trying to accumulate a little bit more money? You think he gives a crap? No, it's an agendic move.
Yeah, it's political.
He's a progressive, and Michael Saylor's a conservative. It's an agendic move to try and destroy the leaders of the next system, because we're going through a transition of leadership. And all of the whales, my God, I hope they're all billionaires. Because if you think of the old whales, who are they? They're libertarian, freedom-minded, wanting to run some software to tear down the world IMF, the World Bank, the World Monetary System that has robbed and raped our people. And I don't just mean Americans, people all across the globe who have robbed and raped us all with a smile on their face, at the same time telling us that they're the ones bringing the stability, when really they just bring us war and death and friggin' disease and everything else. This whole globalist system is an evil construct created to destroy the souls of all humans.
Dropping bars, man. I completely agree. I mean, you're describing the container effect, Ben, and essentially, like, the way that you guys should look at it is basically every time the Federal Reserve prints money, it's a wealth redistribution mechanism from the lower and middle classes that don't have the means to save in assets to the very, very wealthy. And then that makes the inequality bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that empowers all these corporations that are in close proximity to the money printer. So, you know, the way that Ben is describing it, we've talked about the evil of the Fed. We've talked about that the fact that the Fed is the number one cause of wealth inequality. We've talked about not only us, but even Nayib Bukele has said this, like, through inflation is how they control people. You know, it's a system of control. This is why people can't get ahead, and this is what Bitcoiners are. This is what we're all trying to get the message out: is that the money is fundamentally broken. If you opt out into Bitcoin, all of a sudden you're not within that system anymore, and all of a sudden all you got to do is just hold it, and your life will get progressively better over time. You will get progressively wealthier. You will get progressively it's just a waiting game. It's not like it's not rocket science. Like, figure out how to mine that fiat, put it in Bitcoin, wait a couple cycles, and you're going to be in a much, much better place than where you were, you know, before you started, moving on to the Bitcoin system. That is that's a fact. And what Ben was saying regarding the evils, regarding what they've done, this whole central banking system has done this to the world, right? And we are witnessing a pivotal shift. I would say we're entering into this, new era in human history where essentially everything is decentralizing, whether it's media, whether, it is, whatever it is. Like, it's a whole new world. Things are getting shaken up, and Trump was in the belly of the beast, but I think Trump was calling it out. Trump was calling the ludicrous. Like, what type of building costs $3.2 billion to renovate? That is an absurd amount of money, right? Like, what are they doing with that, And he's rightly so calling it out. And of course he did it because, as we've been saying, we've had Caitlin Long on the show. We've had many people on the show to kind of confirm this. They are manipulating. The Fed isn't acting in a neutral fashion. They're acting politically against Trump, right? And so he's going in there and he's kind of, art of the dealing it to try to get finally the Fed to lower rates, right? So yeah, it's Bitcoin is for. This is what Bitcoin and self-custody is for. Opti, real quick take before we move on to the news.
Yeah, I mean, my first thought when I saw this video was like everyone else, like this has to be AI because this is just absolutely hilarious. And it is a show and it is theater and it is entertaining. But it was on the news. Like this, this actually happened. And it is very interesting to see what's going on between Trump and Powell. Basically like the wrestling match or, you know, the fight, the tug of war we are seeing right now in regards to interest rates. And, you know, the funniest part to me was just kind of not only was Trump hilarious, but Powell's responses to what he was saying was even funnier. He's like looking at him, giving weird side eyes and, you know, pulls his glasses to read it. We live in the best timeline is all I can say. This is getting just even more entertaining than we could even imagine. And I think it might only be entertaining for us because we're Bitcoiners and we can watch this all play out kind of from the sidelines and be like, what an absolute shit show this is. And, you know, as Bitcoiners, you're like, hey, it just sounds like more money is being created and going to go into Bitcoin. So sounds good to me.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, we're going to be right back. We're going to hit the news segment of the show, and we're going to be talking about El Salvador versus the IMF. So it's going to be quite interesting. We'll be right back in just a second.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store. I want to give a shout out to our partner, Cold Card. If you're serious about self-custody, Cold Card is the best Bitcoin hardware wallet. There is no second best. The Cold Card Q is the ultimate air-gapped Bitcoin signing device, complete with a full keyboard, large screen, camera, NFC support, and much more. Do you prefer something sleeker? The MK4 is trusted by hardcore Bitcoiners around the world. Both are built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners, secure and open source. Simply Bitcoin viewers get 5% off with promo code SIMPLY. Take self-custody of your Bitcoin today with Cold Card.
All right, everybody, we are back. We're going to talk about El Salvador and the IMF. So Nayib Bukele, you know, I remember like it was yesterday. The IMF, basically part of the loan structure that they gave to El Salvador, one of the conditions that they had was that the Bitcoin could no longer be legal tender in El Salvador. Now, here's the thing, though. It's still, you could still use it as a currency and you don't have to pay, you know, the quote unquote capital gains. So it's still essentially functioning as tender, but the IMF was hell bent on it not being legal tender. Now, I have a theory for this. My theory is what they so feared is that people would equate Bitcoin to fiat. They would put it on the same level. And the reason that scares the living daylights out of them is because Bitcoin proves that money can exist without inflation. It proves that, right? So if, God forbid for them, if in El Salvador, Bitcoin succeeds and it continues to just honey badger on and prove that it's not only money, but it's actually better money, it fundamentally calls into question fiat itself, because we've been sold by the quote-unquote economists that somehow, for whatever reason, money has to lose purchasing power in order to function. Bitcoin proves that that is not true. This is why they had to reverse it. This is why right now Bitcoin is seen as quote-unquote a commodity, right? Bitcoin's a commodity. No. Bitcoin is money. You can use it as money. It functions as money. Yes, you can say that it has similarities to a commodity, but it's money. It's peer-to-peer money, right? But again, if you're coming from the old system, right, a system of control, and this is well documented, guys. This isn't just us, talking whatever we want on YouTube, on our channel. Like, there's a whole book about this. There's Confessions of an Economic Hitman, and Alex Gladstein, he does wonderful work, kind of exposing how the IMF is basically using these loans to control a lot of these countries. And it was quite interesting because in 2021, after Nayib Bukele announced that Bitcoin was going to become legal tender, I was expecting so many countries to follow. And the next year, it's almost like it got stopped in a heartbeat. And I could never understand. I could never find out the reason as to why that was happening. The moment they went to El Salvador, they said, hey, we'll give you that loan as long as you don't buy Bitcoin. It clicked in my head in a millisecond. Like, I was like, oh, wow, I get it now. The reason as to why more countries haven't made Bitcoin legal tender is because 100 countries have dealings with the IMF. And they specifically shot across the bow, told everybody that if you want our SBRs, you can't make Bitcoin legal tender. The fact that the IMF is so concerned about a country that has a GDP of $32 billion should tell you everything about whether we are over the target or not. Why are they so concerned? And we always get lectured about the importance of democracy. This is a democratically elected leader. This is a democratically elected House and a democratically elected Congress. And they democratically voted to make Bitcoin legal tender in their country. And this is an international organization that is dictating what a sovereign country can and cannot do with their money. That should tell you everything you need to know about who is actually controlling what. And don't take my word for it. Look all this stuff up, what I just said. Why is the IMF dictating what El Salvador is doing? Why? They can say, oh, it's because they want to give them a loan. Well, initially, when the IMF reacted and they used the legacy media to kind of, back it up, when they made Bitcoin legal tender the first time, they said it was going to be a disaster for the country. They said it was going to destroy the economy. They say it was going to destabilize the country. Those are all the things that they said was going to happen. You know what happened to the economy of El Salvador? It exploded. You know what happened to security in El Salvador? It went up. It is one of the safest countries in the Western Hemisphere. Nayib Bukele right now is the most popular president in the Americas. Like 90% approval rating. Do you think it's a coincidence that the first country that made Bitcoin legal tender has the most popular president? No. What you're witnessing is an alignment of incentives. That's what you're witnessing. And the old system, which Ben describes, is a system of control. It's a system of, you know, from a Christian perspective, right? It's a system of usury. That's what it is. It's it's based on theft, inflation, monetary debasement. You spend your time working, right, all day long, you know, to make a salary, to make a living for your family. And every time the government prints money, that money that you earned loses purchasing power. How can you not describe that as theft? Now, Ben used some stronger words, but it's the same thing. That's what it is. Because we did not agree to this. We never agreed to this. We agreed, and that's a whole other discussion. But that's a whole other discussion. But we agreed to the income tax. We agreed to property taxes. It's in law, right? It's in law. It's there, right? Whether you like it or not, we can have that discussion. Ben and I are probably going to have that discussion on Rumble, right? Because that's a huge rabbit hole. The Federal Reserve was established 1913. The income tax was established 1913. That's not a coincidence, my friend. And Ben and I are going to talk about this on Rumble. But put that aside. It's still a part of the social contract. It's still a law. No one has agreed about the money tax. No one. We have not agreed to it. In fact, if people knew the truth, I think they would get very, very upset, right? So this is why the IMF did what they did with El Salvador, because they could not allow Bitcoin to get a beachhead in a sovereign country to prove that it is a superior currency to fiat. That's what it was about. It was about control, fundamentally. So El Salvador has been buying Bitcoin continuously since they did the deal with the IMF. The deal with the IMF had a stipulation that basically said, hey, you guys are not allowed to buy more Bitcoin. Nayib Bukele said, we're going to buy more Bitcoin regardless. The IMF came out yesterday. Oh, I didn't download this clip, Opti. Let me do this real quick because I don't think it's going to play. But the IMF came out and they said yesterday on a Zoom meeting, which we're going to show to you guys right now, because right now, no one really knows. Like, people are basically speculating that, you know, the IMF, that Nayib Bukele is just moving wallets around. They're not stacking Bitcoin. Nayib Bukele was very clear. Stacey Herbert was very clear. Max Kaiser were very clear about what they're doing, right? And, you know, who's lying is my question. And if you look at the track record, again, guys, like, this isn't just my personal opinion. Read the book Confessions of the Economic Hitman. This is not an institution. Maybe it was created with good intentions, right? But we all know the phrase, the road to hell is paved in good intentions, right? Maybe it was created with good intentions. But what it's actually doing is not very good. So here's a clip from this kind of Zoom meeting where someone asked basically, like, is El Salvador stacking and whatnot? And then we'll kind of open up the discussion. Let's check it out.
Regarding the questions on Bitcoin, I don't have much new to say other than, as we have stated in the past, the total amount of Bitcoin held across government-owned wallets remains unchanged. And that is consistent with El Salvador's program commitments. The accumulation of Bitcoin by the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve Fund is consistent with program conditionality, and the increases in the Bitcoin Reserve Fund relate to movements across various government-owned wallets.
So, I don't know. I don't know who, because the IMF is saying one thing, Nayib Bukele is saying another thing. The reserve is going up. They want to let you know that they're still in control. Nayib Bukele said it very clear that they have every intention to continue to buy Bitcoin. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Ben? And just keep in mind, we are on YouTube and we want to adhere to the community guidelines.
Well, that would be easy if they'd actually give us guidelines, but they don't. just like the IMF, just like the SEC, we're going to let you do what you want to do until you do something we don't like, and then we're going to arrest you. See, the IMF was not created with good intentions. That's a myth, right? The IMF was created to reorganize the globe under and using the leverage of the US dollar that they were actually taking control of through the Federal Reserve System in America. And this is all lies. Plus, if you look at how she phrased it, oh, it's an accumulation of wallets from across the government. Yeah, because it's legal tender. Because at the airport, you can pay your fees to enter with Bitcoin. You can pay your taxes in Bitcoin. Yeah, they're accumulating Bitcoin. See, her problem is she's a liar. And everyone on that call, if they're associated with her, probably a liar. Why do we keep listening to liars and then assuming they're telling the truth? When a cheater cheats and then says, oh, I'll never cheat on you again, guess what they're doing? They're cheating on you again. Well, surprise, surfucking-prise, excuse my language. Why do we keep giving credibility to people who are not credible? Look at Bukele. I will clean up the streets. What did he do? He cleaned up the streets. I will legalize Bitcoin. What did he do? He legalized Bitcoin. I will improve the lives of my countrymen. What has he done? Improve the lives of his countrymen. When a liar lies, trust they're lying. When someone who has consecutively told you the truth tells you something, assume it's the truth, because your judgment is actually based on the past experiences with the person or entity. The Federal Reserve was created to transfer wealth out of the free economy into the government. That's it. Through inflation and through the ability of the federal government to sell treasuries to the Federal Reserve to create currency. They leveraged our labor, our future labor, for the realization of the monetary power into the federal government at the time. Without the Federal Reserve, World War I would have never happened. Without the Federal Reserve, World War II would have never happened. So what have we gotten from the Federal Reserve? We've all friggin' gotten poorer, and millions of us have gotten killed. I'm not seeing the positive here.
100%. I 100% agree with you, Ben, and we've talked about this many, many times. You know, when look, back in the Middle Ages, the wars would end when the king would run out of gold, right? The soldiers would literally pack up and go home, right? Like, that's literally what would happen. Like, don't take my word for it. Again, do your own research, but you can verify this, right? Fiat enables endless wars, and in fact, it makes it's evil. Like, Ben's 100% on the dot here. Like, it makes it profitable. It incentivizes it, right? If you're on a sound money standard, war becomes expensive, and you're actually incentivized to, you know what? To transact, right? You're incentivized to actually, for a free market to do what free markets do best, which is the best way to organize a society without cohesion. So without coercive measures, and that's the signal there, right? Ben hit the nail on the head. Is that fiat fuels endless wars, and I'm going to refer to Ron Paul's quote. It's not a coincidence that the century of central banking happens to be the bloodiest century in human history, right? Like, that's not a coincidence, guys. And when, Ben went off earlier on about the evils of the Fed, like, I'm telling you, like, It's not okay. It's not okay what they do. And the IMF, I would say, is an extension of that. It's an extension of this institutional system, controlling people through money. And that's why, and to kind of wrap it, like loop it in, Jeff Booth makes this case that that the natural state of the free market is deflationary, right? And the only way that you're feeling the natural state of the free market is by adopting Bitcoin. Because when you adopt Bitcoin, every single thing, what Ben was saying in the beginning of the show about you getting rich, every single thing around you will get cheaper over time. So that car that you want, that real estate that you want, the food, the groceries, if you're saving in Bitcoin, everything is getting cheaper, getting progressively cheaper. So that house that you wanted cost you 100 Bitcoin 4 years ago. Today, maybe it cost you 4. Was it a good idea to buy the house? Or is it maybe a good idea to rent the house?
Here we go again.
Right? So
Actually, that's really something we should actually talk about, is how as we move forward, this new currency, the friggin' Bitcoin that we all love, it is actually an efficiency and quality generator, because you have to actually build a higher quality product to actually convince the people who own the Bitcoin to buy it with Bitcoin. Because if you offer a crap product, they're not going to send you their Bitcoin for something that isn't quality. So this, not only a amazing monetary unit, is also a cultural improvement unit.
Yeah. Yeah. And you see this with the quality of products decreasing. You used to be able to buy a fridge, like you see these videos. Someone buys a fridge from the 1950s and that thing is still running and it's made out of steel, and you buy a fridge today and that thing breaks. It might be a quote unquote smart fridge with all the technology and all that stuff, but that thing breaks. It breaks, within 2 years, you have to buy another fridge. That's something called, it's a phenomenon called shrinkflation. So what's essentially happening is that companies are forced to try to keep the prices steady. But because the money's losing purchasing power, they have to cut the quality of the products in order to maintain that stable prices. Now, here's the kind of evil doom loop, right? Because people that are not educated on inflation and on how the Federal Reserve works, the corporations get blamed for quote unquote price gouging. They're not price gouging anything. That's not how a free market works. If you price gouge, what you're doing is you're allowing your competitor you're going to charge too much. I'm going to charge less. I'm going to get your customers. That's not how the free market works, right? You can't, and then this is the crazy part. And then I think this is an educational component, is that the free market determines what the price of goods are. It's not a central bank. It's not the state. It's not the government. It's the free market that determines the prices of goods. And this is what people have to wrap their heads around. And another thing that I'll say is the reason as to why Bitcoin shows you that the natural state of the free market is deflationary is because it's the only currency in the world that is sufficiently decentralized and secure. So therefore, it cannot be manipulated, right? And that is why everything gets cheaper compared to Bitcoin. It's the only currency that cannot be manipulated. And you want to know why, to loop it back in, and then we're going to talk about Bitcoin Ben's clubs that are a worldwide phenomenon and his resorts in El Salvador and everything he's working on. But to kind of weave it back in, you want to know why the IMF does not want Bitcoin as legal tender. It's exactly for the reason I just told you. They cannot control it. That's what it fundamentally comes down to. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the culture. We have tons to talk about. We're going to talk about Bitcoin Ben, his clubs, private key bank in El Salvador, and all this good stuff. We'll be right back in just a second.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at HIVEdigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, BitcoinBend.io. If you're into freedom, Bitcoin, and building a real community, this is for you. Gain exclusive access to real-world, members-only, private clubs across the globe, featuring poker nights, expert-led classes, co-working spaces, educational meetups, live events, and more. Current locations include Sarasota, Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Las Vegas, and St. Louis, with new clubs launching soon in West Palm Beach, Scottsdale, Alabama, and beyond. Not to mention Bitcoin Bend's resorts in El Salvador. There's 3 of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll also get access to the first fully backed Bitcoin bank with fiat ramps and savings accounts. It's called Private Key Bank, and you guessed it, it's based out of El Salvador. Go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin bulk buys, tap into home equity for long-term Bitcoin growth, and join their exclusive mining pools if you're interested in mining. What are you waiting for? Head over to bitcoinbend.io, join today, where Bitcoin meets freedom.
All right, and we got the man himself, Ben, in the house. Let's talk about bitcoinbend.io. Guys, I had a really good meeting with a friend of mine yesterday. He's pretty well known in the space, and there's something that he said that kind of really resonated with me. And, he doesn't live in South Florida like I do. So he's here every once in a while. And he said something to me. He's like, Nico, we meet every once in a while when I'm here, but it wouldn't be the same if we did it over Zoom. It wouldn't be the same if we did it over Google Meet. There's something about the in-person experience that cannot be replaced by Google Meet, by Zoom, right? When Ben and I see each other in person, I think we give each other, we're like, yo, what's up, man?
What up, brother?
And we just give each other hugs and we're just talking and you feel the energy, right? It's part of the reason that I wanted Opti to move down here to South Florida is because, again, there's something about meet space, right? That, the digital doesn't really equate to. And as a Bitcoiner, you kind of feel lonely in a way because most of the world does not see the world the way that you do, through the orange lens, through the lens of optimism, peace, hope, prosperity. Ben was dropping the sauce in the beginning of the show. He's like, look, you're going to be rich, man. Just wait it out. You're sitting in something in 10 years. You're going to be like, dude, you remember when Bitcoin is 116,000? Like, holy cow, right? I remember when I got into Bitcoin, it was 2016. It was like under $1,000. I was like, oh my God, like I am so effing late. I am late. I missed the boat. I have friends that were buying this at $100. I have friends that were buying at $50. I missed the boat. I still bought as much as I could, but I still felt like I was late. Now, if you tell me, Nico, $600 Bitcoin, dude, oh my God, I would have been like, holy cow. Like it was right. It was so obvious. The opportunity was right there. And you guys just have to do the math in your head. It's super, super simple. There's 21 million, and there's an infinite amount of fiat. The math, it's infinity divided by 21 million. So where else are you going to find like-minded individuals that think like you, that you can actually hang out with in real life, in person? There's poker, there's educational stuff. You want to learn about mining, you want to learn about Bitcoin, but in person, this is what Bitcoin Ben clubs are all about. Right? So go to bitcoinbend.io, and I want to talk about the different locations, Opti. So if you could pull that up. I've only been able to visit the one in Sarasota, but now it looks like I'm gonna be doing a worldwide tour, Ben. But you got the Sarasota club, you got Nashville, you got Boston. Could you go down, Opti, a little bit? You got Dallas, you got Las Vegas, and you got St. Louis. And you were just telling me before we went on air that you're on the verge of launching a new club in Scottsdale, Arizona. So, Ben, did I do it justice? Did I do describing the magic of your clubs justice, man? The importance of meeting in person with other Bitcoiners to talk about Bitcoin, to talk about, what they're thinking, their worldview, perhaps to play a little bit of poker, to hang out, to get educated, talk about mining. Ben, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Actually, let me explain why I launched our clubs. And if I get emotional, you'll have to forgive me, because we're losing our freedoms on a daily basis, especially the last 4 or 6 years, and actually over the last 100 years, and then some. And what I wanted was to change America. Well, how do you change America? You actually get everyday Joes, ex-truck drivers, and average common sense Americans and freedom-loving people all over the world together, and you make them wealthy. You actually give them the most valuable, or help them actually get involved in the most valuable shift of wealth ever. And this is such an amazing opportunity, where the first time in history, the little guys can front run the big guys, because the big guys, they exist in the old system. And what these clubs are for is for the average people in the area to learn about this. Because, guys, you and I, we're doing great. We're already in Bitcoin. And I realized, well, what about everyone else? Because everyone's hyped up about wealthy people buying Bitcoin. Hey, you're already rich. I love you to death and I love what you're doing, but brother, I don't give a flying fuck if you get richer. All right? What I'm worried about is actually the single mom who has 3 friggin' jobs because she has 3 kids and she's barely getting by. Well, who's helping her? Who's looking out for her? It sure ain't the government, and it shouldn't be. It should be us people who are looking around going, who needs help? This is what we're here for. And I am a proud follower of Jesus Christ, and I am flawed as fuck. But I'll tell you one thing. If Jesus was here, he would tell you, help your neighbors, help your friends, help someone you don't know. Because just like Michael Saylor, you can't take Bitcoin with you, but what you can is you can leave changed lives. You can help someone next to you that will remember that help for the rest of their lives. And like I said, I get emotional about this because I love people. I love everybody. I love every human out there. I don't care what race, religion, anything. I don't care. You're a human. You have a soul. God granted you the gift of life. And we share that life together. And we have a group of evil people who have come together to try and hurt us. Well, I say we all friggin' gather up together and we tell them to kiss our ass. That's what we tell them. And so I don't look at these clubs as just, hey, let's all hang out and talk about Bitcoin. These are knowledge armories We're at war, folks, and we need locations all over the world where people can actually come in. And I also look at them as hospitals, because a lot of broken people walk through our doors and go, look, this inflation's killing me. I heard Bitcoin can help. We're a triage. We are a financial triage club. And very few millionaires walk through my doors, but a whole lot of hundredaires do. And that's who I'm worried about. And that's why look, guys, I'll be honest with you. I'm doing great. I could literally retire right now and live on a friggin' boat and have a great life. All right. But what life would it be? Because, hey, while I'm happy out on this friggin' boat, what about the people on the shores? All right, we're already in the lifeboat. Why don't we row our happy asses right back to the Titanic and grab some more people and put them on the boat? Because it's sinking. And all of the rich people are getting off the Titanic because they found out early. All of us on the lower level, we ain't heard shit. We heard a bump, and now there's a little bit of water coming in. Well, all of the rich people were told earlier, hey guys, we're gonna need to get you guys in here. We're gonna need to get you in the lifeboat. While all of the broke people who are just looking for a bed, your life, they're all drowning. And what is rushing into the Titanic is the inflation of the water. And that's what we're doing. We are killing the people with inflation. And we have, for some reason, we still have people who give a flying shit what the Federal Reserve says. Or we care what the IMF says. I absolutely love the president of El Salvador. It's why I launched my bank there. Because he don't give a shit about the IMF. He's worried about his people. I guarantee he's cried. He's cried for his people because no one would take that job unless they were willing to die for their people.
Yeah. Amen to that. Absolutely. Extremely, extremely powerful. And, you know, Ben, you were talking about the Christian component to it, right? And it kind of plays into this. And I forget, I was talking to a couple friends of mine, and I was talking about the kind of spiritual warfare that is happening right now. And it is happening, right? And you have essentially a system of usury, and then you have a system of hope. You have a system of sound money. And, you know, again, inflation affects the lower and middle classes the most, right? And this is what people have to understand, right? Most people don't have the privilege to be able to save, right? Most people don't have the privilege to be able to park a portion of their net worth in assets. I don't know what the exact figure is, but it's like 30 or 40% of the country is paycheck to paycheck, right? And those are the people that get absolutely effing wrecked when the government prints money the way they do, right? And that's something to keep in mind. And at these clubs, at Bitcoin Ben's clubs that are all over the states, you're going to be able to arm yourself with the knowledge to give you hope, right? You're going to be able to see that you do have a future. You do have an ability to live a prosperous life. And you know what? You're not gonna get it through. It's part of it. I'm not saying it's not important. It's definitely important. But I would say the most powerful vote you can make is to vote with your wallet. That is the most powerful vote you can make, I would say, at this point. And at Ben's clubs, you're going to find like-minded individuals that are going to be able to educate you, support you, and give you hope, give you your hope back, give you your dignity back, I would say. So go check out bitcoinben.io, and you guys are going to want to stay tuned for Ben and I's show when we do the Rumble exclusive. We're going to be able to
give him a sneak peek.
Yeah, we're going to be able to bring up all the topics that we talked about today. We're going to be able to talk about them in a more open fashion, in a way that's outside of the Overton window. And we're going to be doing that exclusively on Rumble. And yeah, it's going to be a fantastic conversation, Go ahead,
let me say one more thing. One of the reasons I want everyone watching, if you live near one of my clubs, or if you don't, especially if you do, please join the clubs. Guys, I'm not in it for the money. That's just operational costs. I'm in it because I want more people who are watching this. I want you in the club, physically in the club, because a lot of you have knowledge that I don't even have. And I'll tell you what, so some of the best evenings I've ever had was sitting in my clubs, actually talking about freedom and love and charity. And everyone who enters our club, when they join, all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, there's a place I can openly talk about love and freedom. And it's these clubs. And I just recently actually sent my CEO Jay over to Australia. I'm launching clubs in Australia. I'm launching clubs in the UK. I'm launching clubs in Mexico. I'm Costa Rica. I'm launching clubs everywhere because, like I said, these are armories. These are knowledge armories where average Joes and average Janes can come and get some ammunition for the war. Because this is a war, guys.
Metaphorical ammunition for this spiritual war that we're going through right now. And you got to arm yourself with knowledge. 100%. I agree with that. Guys, this was a fantastic Friday show. The numbers absolutely blew up. I think we almost hit 800 live viewers on YouTube. Rumble coming in hot like always. And 2,000 more than 800. Wow. So 2,600. It's 625 of you guys watching live right now. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you feel like we provided you value. Go check out bitcoinben.io. Someone in the chat, Ben, is saying need clubs in Canada.
Let's just say I'm actually going to reach out to one of my OG friends, Mr. Sessions, who is also named Ben. And I think I'm going to work something out with him.
Fantastic. Guys, so go check out bitcoinben.io. Join one of these clubs today in your city near you. They're spreading all over the place. Yeah, guys, join yourself with other like-minded individuals. This is how we rise up. This is how we go more towards the truth. I'll leave it at that. Guys, if you guys...
Oh, wait till Rumble, brother. Rumble's going to be... Everyone watching right now, you better set your alarm clock because Rumble's going to be
ready
fire.
Ready to rumble. It's happening next week, ladies
and
gentlemen.
You thought I was hot today. Wait until I'm unfiltered.
If you guys enjoyed today's show, July 25th, 2025, make sure to smash that like button. I'm your host, Nico, is my legendary co-host, Optimus Fields, and our special guest for today, Bitcoin Ben. Go check out bitcoinben.io today. Everyone have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you on the other side on Monday. Take care, everybody.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.